Hey there, Ride the Car Guy here, and today let's put ditch lights on the 8-ball, my 2006 Nissan Xterra. So I was looking at the 8-ball the other day and I saw my obnoxiously large stock antenna, my now much bigger LED light bar, GoPro mount, CB antenna, and snorkel, and I said, you know what? We need more on the front of this thing. So that's what we're doing today. We're gonna add some ditch lights to the front of the 8-ball. Now, in my previous video where I installed the light bar, I showed you how to install an auxiliary fuse box and switches and relays for all of the lighting. So we're not gonna cover that in this video. If you need help with that, check out the upper right-hand corner of the screen where I go over those steps. Today, we're just gonna install with, again, hood clamps, just like I did this one, wire up the ditch lights to a relay, and then eventually our switch. So for this setup, we're gonna use the Nightlight little LED pods, the mounts that of course came with the ditch lights, and then I'm gonna use, again, a pinch mount for the back of the hood. I've been making some content on my parents' Jeep, and if you shop for ditch light mounts for a Jeep, they're about 60 cents. If you shop for them for an Xterra, they're about $60. So I'm not gonna pay that. This is only 10 bucks. So I bought these, they come in pairs. I already mounted the other one, so we're just gonna get this one installed and wire them up. And of course, links to all this are in the description below. So let's get started and get this thing mounted. So for starters, just loosen all of these little screws down here. You're gonna have 5 of them, and you're gonna have a little metal plate that when you start to loosen it will kind of flop around. It might get a little bit annoying, but it will fall loose, but you do need that because you don't wanna screw these directly into your hood. You wanna use that little protector plate. There's a little plate. You'll see it's kind of loose in there. And then they have 2 little guide holes that it drops into. So set that up just like that. Let's go put it on the hood generally where we want it. So I'm gonna put it right about here. If you get it too far over here, you're gonna start interfering with the cowl. It kind of swoops up and gets near that hinge. And then obviously you don't want it right next to the existing light. So I'm gonna put it right about there. So we're gonna lift the hood, slide it on, and put it in place. All right, just get that little plate in place. There we go. Nice and easy. And if you leave them relatively loose, you can slide it on and that rubber on the top will hold it in place for you. Since this is already my second side, I'm just gonna measure and make sure I'm at the same distance as the other one. There we go. Then you just jump in here and tighten down all your screws. Since it is on a plate, you're gonna have to kind of do it in series, like go down and just keep going down and start over until they're all nice and tight. All right, there they are all tightened down. And when we drop our hood, exactly where we want it to be. So to mount this bracket, obviously this is gonna be the back of the light. So just kind of generally point it in the direction you want it to be in. Drop your washer on there and then just grab the screw from the mount, screw it in. That's kind of, I don't know, 45-ish away from the front of the vehicle, maybe that a little bit. The idea is obviously our main light's gonna take care of it in front. These are gonna hit the sides. Now to mount the light, it comes with these oddly large bolts here. These are 14 millimeter. And then you have a washer and a lock washer. So in here is a trapped nut. And so it's right there. Actually, it's kind of a weird setup here. It's actually a bit low, but that's all right. It kind of would point like this, but that's okay. We don't want to be pointing up into the sky anyways. But so just grab this, find that little captured nut in the back, and then we can get it all put in. I guess we can kind of have it up high for a minute to get that in there. No way I got it on the first try, right? No. I need to get like a step stool so I can look over it here. There we go. That's much easier. It's hard to see it. There we go. Perfect. And then we just take this, tighten it down. Now, if you want, you can just get this on the mount first, right? Kind of get it generally where you want it and then install it on the hood. So either way, whatever's easier for you. But for me, I think that looks really good. Here's our first look from the front when they're mounted, and honestly, I like the look. I like how they're tight to the hood. They're not up on a mount, right? So they're kind of tucked in, much like the light. It's not up real high. So honestly, I'm pretty happy with it. And now that they're mounted, let's get them wired up. Should be quick. All right, we have our relay here. I'm gonna use a relay for this particular configuration, and relays are pretty simple. We have here our main positive, our main negative, the load, meaning the load that goes out to the light, and the trigger wires. So the switch will go to this wire. I already have my auxiliary fuse box here. Love this thing. Again, if you want any assistance with the rest of this wiring, definitely check out the previous video in the series. But for this, we're gonna run our main positive and negative off of this right here. We're also gonna run the negative from both lights to this as well. Since we have this little block here, I'm not gonna use all these. So we'll do negative to the lights, negative to the relay, this next positive will go to this positive here. This goes to the positive of the lights, and then direct ground to this. So let's start with grounding the relay. So for whatever reason, they did not give us a flathead option in this fuse box. Kind of ridiculous, but that's okay. So just loosen that and throw your ground wire into it. If you want to be a good kid about it, you can put these on. You know, you can get those little connectors that will go straight on it. That's too much work, honestly, so we're not doing that around here. Then I'm feeding it down with the rest of my grounds. And then I'm going to grab one of my solder connectors that I really like. Grab the black, put it to the negative on the relay. Next up, we'll do our positive, and I'm going to do it right here, the closest one, because I'm straight up running out of cabling. So I think that should work. Yeah, that'll work. So wire that up, obviously to the red on the relay. Obviously this gauge is a bit overkill for a couple lights, but whatever, it'll be all right. All right, power supplied from the black to the relay. Now we just need to run the power to the lights and put our trigger on. All right, my wire situation's gotten so bad that I'm starting to strip cables out of a 4-pin that I had an extra one for a trailer project that I'm doing. So I'm just gonna strip that out, and I'm gonna put it to the positive over here, and then run it to the positive, and then of course the load on the relay. One thing I'll tell you I'm not a huge fan of is how little wire they actually give you straight out of the ditch light. So I'm not a huge fan of that, but we should be able to make it work. Since I'm already over here, I'm just gonna run the negative as well. So same story, but I'm gonna use the white, which in the 4-pin is the ground. All right, that's done. And also over here is my trigger wire. So this is the one that I have ran from the switch. So I'm gonna grab all 3 of these and run them probably just like I did my other one across this large harness in the rear, all the way over to the other side so we can get the rest wired up. All right, so everything's over here and it looks like a huge mess, but we'll get it. Here's our ground that's running to the other light. So we just need to run it to this ground and over to the ground block, obviously. Our yellow, which came from the positive on the other side, needs to go to the positive here, and then the blue on our relay. And then the white trigger line, white with the silver over here, that's coming from our switch inside the cabin, and that's gotta go to the white on our relay. So for the positive, I'm going to strip this out, strip a little bit more here, and run them together. So run one just like this, and then run the other one out to the positive. So I have the lights wired together, and obviously this is not preferred. I might drill into the cowl just like I did for the main light and kind of hide these, but for now I just want to get it wired up and get it running. Okay, so before we tuck all this in and get it all put away, I want to test it. So all we need to do now is put in an appropriately sized fuse. I'm going to start with 5. I don't know how many amps are in here or amps these are using, but if we blow it, then we know we need to move up to a 10. So just slap that in there, and then let's go flip the switch, see what happens. All right, moment of truth. Hey, all right, looking good. And then there's the main light. We're in great shape. Let's clean up some wiring and call it a day. So for these wires, I'm gonna tuck a lot of this in behind my fuse box. It's kind of messy, and I know that. So I'm just gonna grab these, tuck them in, and I'll probably end up, like I said in the last video and still haven't done, I'm gonna slide these up here and probably just screw them into this cowl. And that way they're just sort of sitting up here. But for now, tucked in, put our cap back on. We do have a little sticker pack here that came with our auxiliary fuse box that will allow us to label our fuse location. And I think light pods is one of the options. So let's flip this over, snap it on. And what do we have here? We have side lights. I think that's pretty accurate. Navigation lights, good enough. We're going with side lights. Excellent. So that's it. That's how I installed the pod lights on the 8-ball. Now you absolutely could just go get a switch off of Amazon to pair with these and then just run the full power through the switch. And that's definitely not going to be an issue with a couple light pods. But if you are running higher amperage stuff, you really should use a relay. If you have any questions about this job or any comments, just put them down in the comments below. please subscribe. We're getting close to 75,000 subscribers, and at this point, I really want to push for that 100K. So if you watch this video and like it, or if you've at least watched a couple of my videos, please consider subscribing. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.